Good morning, LEC community. Thank you so much for joining us today on our virtual career fair for aspiring and current Latinx educators. My name is Edgar Palacios. I'm the founder of the Latinx Education Collaborative, and I'm with Susana Elizarraz, our Chief Community Officer. How are you doing, Susana?
Hey, Edgar. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for being here. We are excited to have the phenomenal Tara Haskins with Kansas City Girls Prep Academy. Tara, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here this morning.
Awesome. We're going to just jump right in. So tell us a little bit more about KC Girls Prep.
Yeah, so KC Girls Prep just opened in August of this past year to a phenomenal group of fifth graders. Our girls are the most amazing and incredible young women I've ever encountered. We are the very first public charter all-girls school in Kansas City. And so what that means is there are no tests for our girls. There is no tuition. There are no interviews. We believe that if we have a seat, our young women in Kansas City can fill that seat. We believe in serving the young women who deserve access to the highest quality of education possible. And we are single gender. And just in my experience, I've been very fortunate to work in single gender schools, but the amount of sisterhood and community that our girls have already created in this short amount of time makes me excited for our school as we continue to grow 1 year at a time until our girls are fully grown at 12th grade. So this year we started with 5th grade, and next year we'll have 6th grade.
That's so exciting, Tara. The school coming to our neighborhood is very exciting for me, for sure. Our next question is, it sounds like you have a great community started of students. I've heard a lot about it. Now, how will you plan to support, or how do you already support Latinx educators?
I think of one of parts of our mission is for our kids to use our voice, and that transfer over to our adults as well. When I think about curriculum, I still remember I was very fortunate to have a principal as a history teacher. She realized that young girls who looked like me were not in the books. And so she let me be very free in our curriculum. So we have that as well for our teachers. We ask ourselves, are you reflected in what you're teaching our girls? Are our girls reflected? And if not, we give them the autonomy to work with some amazing curriculum developers to turn that into something they would want to see for our kids. And so that's one part of being a teacher, what you teach, but also the intentionality behind how we create our team. We realize that having a diverse team that is reflective of the community you serve is a priority, not because we say it, but when I interviewed parents as we were developing the school, I heard time and time again, mothers, aunts, fathers telling me, yeah, my daughter likes school, but there's no one who looks like her. My daughter doesn't see anyone who looks like her. So as a school, we are committed to creating a diverse and inclusive staff where we ask ourselves after each stage of the hiring process, is this, even have a certain number we will want, is this reaching our goal that we set for ourselves? If not, we're willing to pause our hiring process, take a step back, and re-look at our pool of talent. And that's the commitment that we made to our team. And that's the commitment we made to our families.
I appreciate your intentionality so much around this topic. And thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about the open positions that you may have available currently.
Yeah, so as we grow next year, we're looking for 2 positions, a director of student support, which will directly lead our exceptional learners, which is, we use exceptional learners instead of students who have special education needs, our English language learners and our newcomers as part of our school. So they directly focus in leading that. And they would manage our learning support specialists who are directly in the classroom, directly working with kids. But one of the great things is they're helping create a program. Based off of our kids, we need someone that is intentional about our lessons being designed to include all learners, because we truly believe that all means all, not some. Every single child will learn in our school, but having someone focused to make sure that we're including all learners is really important. And so the next role that we're hiring for is a STEAM coach. So we are a STEAM school, science, technology, engineering. I always think of young women, and young women of color are not reflected in those fields. And so that's why we made that commitment to starting our girls as early as 5th grade, taking a science, tech, and engineering class. And so our STEAM coach will directly coach and manage our math teachers and our science teachers. And those are for next year.
That's great, Tara, to hear about those 2 positions. Now, we know how important it is for the candidates to be a good candidate for the organization, but also for the organization to be good for the candidate, right? What do you see as being some important skills or qualities that you'd like to see in potential candidates for these jobs?
I always say I can never say this word, entrepreneurial. Like just really being an entrepreneur, understanding that as a founding school, we want to create something. We want to create something that is outside of just structures that are already in place. We need someone that's willing to look at something with a critical lens and be able to say, this does not quite align to the mission that we said, which means that you need to be able to notice and be okay with pushing back against things that you know do not align to the needs of our kids. While at the same time having a growth mindset. Do you seek to understand? Do you seek and realize that I'm still a learner as well? Because that is being directly modeled for our girls. That's what I always ask. What did parents tell me they want to see in their girls? They want someone who is strong-willed. They want someone who is strong-minded. They want someone who builds relationships. And that's exactly what we want in a teacher. Relationships is the core of our school. We even have an advisory model where in the middle of the day, our girls do a curriculum that basically has them explore their own story. We know to be anti-racist and to break down these systems, we have to share the stories of our community and of our children. So that's why it's built into the day, which means there needs to be an adult who's willing to do the same for themselves. Are they willing to be vulnerable and share parts of their story? Are they willing to build off the stories of others to create an amazing community?
Tara, thanks so much for sharing that. You mentioned some key words there: anti-racist, sharing your story, and leaning from a narrative perspective. Those are incredibly. I wouldn't say they're different, but they are definitely highlights of, I think, what makes KCGPA seem like a great environment to be a part of. So thank you for sharing. Since we have a little bit of time, I'd like to delve deeper.
All right.
I'd like to delve deeper just into your own educational journey. How did you get to be where you are today?
I hate telling people, just as a military kid, I never saw people who look like me. I was very aware. I didn't even know what the term Afro-Latino was until college. I remember looking around and my mother's more fair skinned. I was like, Mommy, no one looks like me. Why isn't no one looks like me? Even when we lived in Texas, which is a high Mexican population, I remember saying, Mommy, you say I'm Latina, but no one looks like me. And so when that led to me choosing an HBCU, but I met a young girl who said she didn't want to go to college. And one of the top historical Black colleges was down the street. She didn't see herself there. So I got into education. Like I changed my major and I taught in Shreveport, Louisiana for 4 years where I learned the value of community. There are families that will still fix me a bowl of gumbo today if I said I'm within the area. That's when I realized our families are our kids' first teachers. And so after teaching ELA, I had realized that I had really wanted to go to a different school where I can continue to learn and develop. Just the school, I always tell people, if you realize who you are as an educator, you have to realize if the school aligns to your goals and the purpose that you know you want to see for children. And so I went to another school, an all-girls school, where I met a phenomenal school leader who, it was my first time meeting a woman of color who led a school unapologetically. She would tell people, nope, that's not what's best for my girls. I'm so sorry, we're not doing that. And I said, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that right there. And so I taught history for a year and a half there. And then I became a dean of restorative justice and culture, where we had realized there were some gaps in our approach to how we were disciplining girls of color, specifically African-American girls. And we knew that we needed someone that was directly focused on implementing true restorative practices in a school. And so after doing that for years, our suspension rates lowered by 50% in 1 year. I became an assistant principal, where I loved coaching teachers. I love developing teachers. I realized there were inequities in access when it comes to teacher education. And so as an assistant principal, I knew that I could just really work with teachers and getting them to grow. And so that led me to wanting to open a school. I've always wanted to open a school. It sounds weird. I tell my CEO all the time, I wanted to do this since I entered education. He's like, oh, you did it when you said you were going to do it. Yes. And so now I'm here in Kansas City. I always tell people there was a parent in my interview. That's what got me to move from Houston to Kansas City. The parent wasn't just an observer. She gave me feedback. And I said, oh, this school is actually doing what they said they were going to do. And I knew I had to be part of this organization.
That's an incredibly powerful story, and I appreciate you sharing that. I think we all know that school leaders create the environment and are responsible for the culture of the school. So I appreciate you sharing your thoughts around that as well. Do you have any other thoughts or messages that you want to share with our community that we may not have asked?
That's a good question. Let me think. I'm taking think time. I think that one thing I didn't share is about Casey Girls Prep. Just outside it's being an all-girls school, I always say you have to make sure you're passionate about the education of young women and young women of color. And you have to be passionate about them using their voice. Girls don't have to discover their voice. They already have it. We lead with, are they using their voice? I think of a scholar, very fortunate to have our humanities teacher set up a mayor town hall where the mayor came in, and I can tell he thought that he was just going to speak about being a mayor. But when a young 10-year-old asked him, excuse me, Mayor Lucas, I want to know what you're doing to support migrant workers and other immigrants who are coming into Kansas City, and what are you doing to protect them? Because let me tell you how the current policies are impacting not just me, but my friends. And to see the mayor pause and go, oh, wait. And I'm like, yes, that's what we want to see every day. I would really love a staff member that can encourage that level of thinking and encourage that level of bravery in a young girl. But imagine that at 2 grade levels. Imagine 200 girls being able to say, hey, adult, this is what I need. This isn't right. Or, hey, you're doing this well. And so any staff member or any person who really leads with that in mind is not just what makes us special, but it's what makes me excited for us to continue to learn and grow.
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Community, just to make sure, bringing this up this screen, if you want to follow or connect with Kansas City Girls Prep Academy, make sure to follow them on their social accounts. They're pretty active and they share a lot of information. And we will also be sharing a link to the opportunities on our comments, and we'll be collecting information to share with you as well, Tara.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, you too.